A family dog's tail was wagging tall, quick, and rigid, while a child stretched out a hand to stroke it. Everyone watching thought the same thing. Look how happy he is. Half a minute later, that same dog snapped at the child's hand. The signal had been there the whole time. Nobody caught it. And this isn't some freak occurrence. It's a pattern that plays out with dogs everywhere, day after day, while owners miss exactly what's being communicated. That bite wasn't random, even though everyone in that room would swear it came out of thin air. Because here's the truth. Nearly every unexpected dog bite works this way. It's never really the start of something, it's the finish. The last line in a back and forth that had been unfolding for seconds, sometimes whole minutes beforehand. A back and forth that nobody in that room knew how to follow. Veterinary behavior experts have spent years mapping out this exact progression. Dr. Kendall Shepard created a well-known model used in animal behavior circles called the ladder of aggression. It shows how dogs almost never leap straight to biting. Instead, they climb through a series of warnings that grow clearer and clearer, each step turned up slightly louder. Because they're testing every gentler option before resorting to force is the only path left. But before we rewind those 30 seconds, let me ask you this. Has your own dog ever gone suddenly rigid or given you a look that just felt off somehow? Maybe you shrugged it off in the moment. If that's happened to you, drop a comment below. By the end of this video, you'll probably realize exactly what your dog was trying to say. Now let's rewind to that moment. It almost certainly didn't begin with the tail. It rarely does. It likely started with something so faint that no one in the room would have caught it. The dog simply went still, not relaxed, still but tense still, muscles locked tight, breathing shifting just slightly, weight easing back a fraction. Most people read that as calm. It's actually the reverse. It's one of the final peaceful cues a dog offers before things start tipping toward escalation. The dog isn't gearing up to attack, it's hoping it won't have to. Picture what that stillness is actually saying. Please pay attention, I don't want this to get worse, I'm holding back on purpose. And because it's so subtle, almost everyone misses it entirely. But here's the twist, that freeze isn't the warning that slips by unnoticed. It's only the opening one. When nothing shifts in response, the dog tries again, this time through its eyes instead of its body. The head barely shifts, but the eyes cut sideways until a thin sliver of white shows around the iris. Behavior specialists call this whale eye, and it's a well-documented stress signal recognized across shelters, training centers, and vet clinics. The dog is saying two things simultaneously. I'm uneasy right now, and I'm working hard to hold still. That combination matters. Because a dog that feels cornered often tries not to make things worse. It's still exercising restraint, still asking quietly for room to breathe, still hoping to be understood. But even that isn't the loudest signal the dog has. So it tries something even more subtle, a quick flick of the tongue over the nose. Not even a full lick, just the briefest motion, easy to miss if you glance away for a second. Norwegian trainer Turid Rugaas labeled this one of several calming signals. Small behaviors dogs use to ease social tension before things boil over. Think about what that really means. The dog isn't threatening a soul. It's trying to diffuse the moment, almost pleading, "Can we ease up? I really don't want any trouble." It's one of the quietest messages a dog can give, which is exactly why it gets missed so often. And that's where the disconnect deepens, because every overlooked signal pushes the next one to be a little more obvious. Next comes the head turn. The chin dips, the eyes look away, the head angles off to one side. But here's the key detail, the body stays put. It doesn't retreat from whatever's making the dog uneasy. Most people assume this means the dog has simply lost interest. It's usually the exact opposite. The dog is trying to relieve tension without actually leaving, sometimes because leaving isn't an option. Maybe it's boxed in, maybe it's mid-hug, maybe it's guarding the spot it's resting on. Or maybe walking away just doesn't feel like a safe choice. So instead, only the head turns. Imagine hearing the words behind it. "Please, let's not keep going with this." Unfortunately, this is often the exact point where people lean in even closer, more petting, more squeezing. More soothing words. To us, it reads as affection. To the dog, it's yet another unheard warning. And now the conversation has nearly run out of quiet ways to speak. which finally brings us back to the tail. This is where so many owners trip up the exact same way. They spot a moving tail and stop reading anything else, but not all tail wags say the same thing. A loose, low, sweeping wag usually means genuine, relaxed excitement. A tail held high and stiff, snapping back and forth in short bursts, tells a completely different story. At a glance, the two can look almost identical, especially with a kid reaching toward the dog, especially in a crowded living room, especially when everyone's already assuming the dog is thrilled. But by this stage, the dog has already tried freezing, whale eye, the tongue flick, the head turn. None of it changed a thing. This tail isn't broadcasting joy anymore. It's one of the last warnings before a growl or a snap, and that's exactly why so many bites feel like they came out of nowhere. Not because the warnings were absent, but because every single one was misread. None of these signals stand alone. They build quiet at first, then a bit louder, then louder still, like sentences building toward a point. A freeze, a glance, a tongue flick, a turned head. A stiffened tail. Each one is really saying, "Please listen to me." A bite is usually what happens only once every quieter attempt has already failed. Your dog isn't some unpredictable threat waiting to go off. Your dog is a communicator, one that spent the last several minutes trying to resolve the tension peacefully. Understanding this doesn't mean you should start fearing your dog. It means becoming fluent in a language most of us were simply never taught. Because once you can spot these cues, you can change how the story ends. Notice the freeze, give space. Spot the whale eye, pause what you're doing. Catch the tongue flick, slow everything down. See the head turn away, don't chase it. And if that tail suddenly goes high, stiff, and rapid, don't assume it means excitement. Stop and ask yourself, what did I miss right before this? You're not reinforcing bad behavior by giving your dog breathing room. You're teaching them something powerful. I don't need to growl. I don't need to snap. They understood me the first time. That's how trust gets built long before a bite ever has to happen. So let's circle back to where we began. A family dog. A child reaching out. A wagging tail. A room full of people smiling, convinced everything was fine. 30 seconds later, a bite. Except now you know the story didn't actually start there. It started with a freeze, then whale eye, then a small tongue flick, then a head turning away, then a stiffened tail. The bite wasn't the opening line of the conversation, it was simply the closing one. The warning had been there the entire time. Now you know how to hear it. And remember that question from earlier, has your dog ever frozen or given you a look that just felt different? Go ahead and tell me about it in the comments. I have a feeling you know exactly what it meant now. I'll be reading through as many of your stories as I can.